Hello fellow critics, welcome back to the alley, the place where strange things go and even stranger things live. Speaking of Stranger Things, what a great show, am I right? Season 4 just came out recently, and I have some thoughts. For those of you who are not familiar, Stranger Things is a Netflix original science fiction horror drama about a girl with psychic powers and a number for a name as she faces one of the most terrifying things imaginable, coming of age in a small rural town. But she isn't alone. Teaming up with a gang of nerdy introverts and emotionally battered teenagers, she fights against the darkness of her past in the normal world, as well as a messed up version of the world filled with strange goo, tentacles, and Silent Hill fog, which sounds like the ghoul history of every teenager you've ever met. Will the double-digit diva and her friends come out on top, or will it become a Lovecraftian nightmare world of rot and cool bat monsters? Watch Stranger Things to find out. So as you can imagine, a lot of wacky things ensue. Sometimes it can be hard to keep track of so many wacky things. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Understanding the Rainbow Room and the timeline that surrounds it, because I feel like it gets kind of muddled around here. Because this series is super flashback heavy, that is where we get most of our information about this mysterious, colorful confine. We should also briefly discuss rainbows and their many associations with cults and MK Ultra. You know, the things that they talked about in Sunday school. Scientifically, rainbows are what happen when sunlight hits raindrops and then light shines through them. The electromagnetic spectrum is made of a bunch of different wavelengths, and each of them is reflected at a different angle. These reflections are picked up as different colors, thus giving us the rainbow. They have been a calm and inspiring sight for generations. Mythology and religion have both referenced rainbows in many different capacities. The most relevant to our stranger story seems to be the Norse interpretation known as Bifrost. Bifrost is a burning rainbow bridge that connects Midgard, or Earth, to Asgard, the realm of the gods. It is a metaphorical bridge to a higher existence, a greater existence. It would take humans to a brand new level. We are going to come back to that, but real quick, we're going to run a lightning round of some other cultures and mythologies that have referenced rainbows. For knowledge! Abrahamic religions see it as a covenant with God not to flood the world again. In Mesopotamia and Elamite mythology, the goddess Manzat was the rainbow personified. In Greek mythology, the goddess Iris personifies the rainbow and travels upon them. Many Aboriginal Australian mythologies include a serpent deity whose names and powers frequently vary, but overall he's mostly a creator god and a destruction force. In Chinese mythology, Hong is a two-headed rainbow dragon that represents it. The rainbow appears in Hawaiian legends as a Nunu, and she is a messenger between her brothers. Several West African religions incorporate personified rainbow animals. For the Karen people of Burma, the rainbow is considered a painted and dangerous demon that eats children. Thought I would save the most heartwarming one for last. That was just some of them, probably pronounced incorrectly, just to kind of give you a view of how enigmatic this symbol is. Why did I just ramble on for so long, get a bunch of names wrong, and probably only give you some information for you to follow on your own like breadcrumbs? To build a foundation. I think when you make a point, it's important to kind of gather some base info, right? I'll say it again, rainbows are enigmatic. One secret society refers to them as true magic because they exist in both planes at once. Once again, relating us to a next level. Speaking of next level, if you like digging into Stranger Things and reaching that next level, that's what we do here. So hit that subscribe button and grab your torch before the Demogorgon gets here. Stranger Things alludes to those connections we just made with its aptly named Rainbow Rooms located in Branner's lab. They claim it is a playroom, but what better way to test subjects than to place them alongside similar test subjects? Childhood psychology often pays great attention to the power and symbolism found in playtime. Generally though, those goals are less competition oriented. Childhood psychologists are not running dogfighting style rings on lunch in the back. 10 bucks on the skinny kid. We first see it during the flashbacks with 8 and 11 when 11's mom comes to try to rescue her. Which, side note, allows 3 other children to escape into chaos. Numbers 3, 6, and 9's cruelly named twin sister, Control. 9 was the one with powers, and Control is the control in the experiment. You know, I always found it a really neat thing to name children what you intended on using them for. This one's laundry and that one's dishes. They don't mention this at all in the show for whatever reason, but they have a graphic novel that bridges the gaps, and we'll come back to those later because there's a theory there. A theory for another day. Some of you are like me and remember the room being very small and empty, which is a big contrast to when we see the room again in season 4. I know, things look bigger when you're smaller, and maybe I should just let things go once in a while? But to that I say no and no. This isn't revisiting your childhood park and realizing that not only is all the playground structure bigger, but that time that Billy gave you a wedgie so bad you peed your pants still bothers you more to this day than my bad jokes do. This is a TV show that promotes itself as something with continuity. So what's up? Well, if you do a little digging, you find out there are actually 2 rainbow rooms. Surprise! The first one you see 8 and 11 in early on, and then it was moved to a much more spacious area of the ward with more toys and brain teasers. It wasn't specified why, but I would imagine the extra security would be a big factor, as well as probably an increase in children. In case you were wondering too, there were a couple instances where 18 children were accounted for. I'm presuming it stays the same count because it's mostly the same children. 3, 6, and 9.5, as she is sometimes called, all escaped but are quickly replaced to retain the same number and, you know, not bring up any questions in the records. Hard to explain 3 missing kids. One of my 2 children is quiet too long, I get suspicious. So this kind of explains why we have 2 very different rainbow rooms. They clearly don't want another break-in, because then, you know, you have to lawfully detain someone and fry their brains out again, and you don't want to do that, because... And the cleanup involved? Man... 8 talks about escaping after 11 stops going to the first rainbow room. She took several months to strengthen her power first. Side note, I always found it weird that she is not capable of telekinesis, yet every single one of those other children in that lab are. Some of them are younger than her, but I'm guessing it has something to do with the extended training and it's probably got much more streamlined later after she had left. This does show us something very important though, that some gifts everyone can have, and some are pretty special and you have them from the start. Interesting, right? Another example is number 3 from the books also has the ability to slightly mind control people. He can tell them to do something and they will either believe him or do what he says, which is another power that we don't see any of the children exhibit really. He also leaves before he gets very much training though, he's not at the facilities too long, and similarly only has that one gift that he started with. My analysis is that if there are 2 people who have random gifts at the start other people don't really have, there has to probably be more, right? Law of averages? I have more to say about those guys, but I've already kind of wandered far enough, so we'll come back to that on another episode. So 11 stops coming after her mother's break-in. They begin to move the room to a more secure location, and around that time, 8 escapes. The escaped children are replaced, and 11 continues on her trials as season 4's flashbacks come to fruition. We are led back to the start of this all at Stranger Things, with 11 escaping the facility approximately 4 years after her duel with Vecna. Number 1. Renovations take time, especially with all that cleanup one left behind. It's not clear whether Brenner continues to intake more children or if he just focuses on 11 after the incident. Also, not really clear if one massacres everyone or not. Different sources say different things. So that about wraps up today's Mad Rant. Hopefully we cleared some things up, as well as gave you a lot to think about. Don't worry though, we're not done with this crazy show yet. So keep your radios tuned to this channel so you don't miss the next transmission. Critically yours, The Fox.